Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to our eighth annual Infertility Empowerment Week. I am Monica Yvonne. As I say, I'm a proud board member of Bearing Fruits. Drop down in the comment section for those who are watching. Where are you from? Where are you streaming live from? We're so excited to have you on here. We are starting, but before I start, I want to give you some time to share this on your social media platforms. Send the link to other women who you know are battling infertility or supporting individuals or supporting women who are in the thick of infertility, need to know more information about it. So make sure you share this link, share it on your story, share it as a post wherever you are, and drop down in the comment section where you are streaming live from. We want to know where you are. We appreciate you. Of course, tag a friend to be in the conversation with us. Again, this is our first day. It wasn't our kickoff, or our first day of our eighth annual Infertility Empowerment Week. Again, I am Monica Yvonne. I am a proud board member of Bearing Fruit. Bearing Fruit is an organization where we advocate and we help and we support women who are dealing with reproductive health challenges such as endometriosis, fibroids, PCOS. I myself am a conqueror of stage 2 endometriosis as well as fibroids. I have been through 2 surgeries as a Black woman, and I'm alive to tell and share the story. Are you a woman or someone supporting a woman that have had those issues, heavy periods, heavy menstruation, been told to just thug it out, have seen numerous doctors, don't know what maybe a reproductive endocrinologist is, have been said that you just need to grunt and bear through it. Maybe an auntie or mom told you that. I want you to know that that's not normal. I want you to know that there's help and there's hope for you. I want you to know that there is advocacy for you, especially if you are a woman of color, especially if you are a Black woman, where our stories are not believed, our stories are not heard, and where we can oftentimes feel defeated. And so when I came to Bearing Fruit, that was me, very burnt out and frustrated. And what I found was community. What I found is that I wasn't alone. What I found was people and other women to hold my hand. What I found was allies and resources. And so that's how I came to Bearing Fruit. And now I'm a proud board member. And we're kicking off our 8th annual Infertility Empowerment Week. Because you can be empowered through PCOS, you can be empowered through endometriosis, you can be empowered through fibroids. And even as we talk about Black maternal health, you can't get to maternal health without first talking about infertility. So even IVF, or even if you've had to have some pregnancies terminated, that's what we hear. So maybe you find yourself in the thick of your process. Maybe you're waiting to hold your miracle, which for you may be a child or a better quality of life. I know I was here for a quality of life. Maybe that's you. And so if that's you, I want you to know that you are in the right space. You are in a safe space. It is a sacred space where we get to hold your hand as well as share and uplift and amplify stories of other women and other families who have been through that same journey. I am excited to introduce to you Leah Marie. Leah Marie is literally living out her miracle in real time. She is um, she is a content creator. She is very transparent and encouraging through faith, creating a safe space where women feel seen, supported, and strengthened. She uses storytelling to normalize the conversation of IVF, maternal health, and mental and spiritual challenges that oftentimes go unspoken. And even through social media right now, she is living out and playing out and speaking loudly and proudly about her journey. And we've all been on this journey with her. And so I'm welcome and excited to bring on to the stage Leah Marie. Leah, thank you so much for being a part of our series tonight. Our topic today is in the middle of a miracle, navigating infertility. Maybe you're in infertility in real time as you're doing.
Mhm.
So maybe to the women or support people who are supporting individuals who are in the middle of a miracle navigating. As I talk about the title, as I've even talked about my own journey of how I got to Bearing Fruit and going through in my own infertility and reproductive health challenges. Let's just start really with why we're here. What does being in the middle of the miracle for you look like? Where are you in real time?
Well, thank you so much, Monica, first of all, for having me and hosting this live here on Instagram. And this platform has just been amazing, as well as Bearing Fruit. You ladies are now a part of the community that I have recently joined with you all, and I'm so excited to be here on this live to share my journey. Now we are in real time.
Mhm.
We are 27 weeks pregnant, 6 months to be exact. Glory be to God. It's been a long, long time coming, a long journey, but me and my husband are so blessed with this miracle from God. And it's been up and downhill roller coaster, but everything we prayed for, everything we asked God for, He delivered and more. So we are super excited.
Yes. Congratulations. We are so happy that you are carrying your miracle in real time. And let this be for every woman, to every person that is in the journey of hope. Hoping
Mhm.
that this may be the that hoping that this would be where you are, even if you've had failed journeys through IVF, maybe you've had multiple surgeries before endometriosis,
Mhm.
fibroids. I just want you to be encouraged. We want you to be encouraged that you can go from barren to fruitfulness. Hence, the name of our
Absolutely.
organization is Bearing
Absolutely.
Fruit. And so while you're holding your miracle, can you kind of just explain what are the things you've walked through to get to your pregnancy right now?
So I experienced a lot. It feels like a journey of forever because that constant chasing, and never fully getting to the finish line. You know what I mean? So we've been through failed transfers, we've been through ectopic pregnancies, we've been through chemical pregnancies, we've been through the trenches of infertility, I like to call it. But it's been a long journey, and I feel like everything that I've went through was for a reason, for a purpose. It was necessary. I had to go through that to build who I am today as a woman. But we've been through trials and tribulations, and I feel like it's not a day that doesn't go by that I'm reminded of through it all, God's grace, His mercy. He's so sovereign. And I just feel like every heartbreak led me to where I am now. It's
Mhm.
given me the perseverance, it's given me the persistence, it's given me the patience for motherhood because prior to all of this, I had none of that. I had none of it. I was just like, I want what I want and I want it now. But facing some of those challenges going through the trenches of infertility, I was exposed to things I had never had to deal with. I was exposed to setbacks. I was exposed to heartbreaks. I was exposed to being in a space where I felt shame, guilt. Me and my husband were diagnosed with male factor infertility. So I felt
Wow.
like I was in a space where I couldn't relate because I felt like I didn't belong here, right? I often blame my husband. This is your issue. This is your issue. This is
Mhm.
all on you.
Mhm.
But I was the one that was going through the process. I was the one that's getting probed and sticked and pried and
Yeah.
exposed and feeling like I'm not the one with the problem. You're the one with I just felt like I was in a space that I was navigating where I was calling out for help, but I didn't have the resources nor the community. So my biggest thing for me was to just heal out loud. So that's when I turned to social media and use this platform and use my voice to bring healing. But the healing for me had to be out loud. So my
Yeah.
silence, I wasn't silencing myself, but then I realized that the healing was necessary to be out loud. So I could be a image to someone else who looked like me, who was, just going through the whole, ordeal of the medication terminology, the financial aspect, the patches in my marriage. It was just a lot of ups and downs and hills to climb. But I think, for the past 4 years, it was
Mm.
very transforming. So my lowest points were my points where I felt like, you know what, I can get through this again. It might have been a failed transfer, but I can do this again. So it was very much trial and error, very much trial and error.
Right. So And of course, everyone, she's sharing this in real time. She's posting this to social media. We're going through it with her, uh
Mm-hmm.
watching, like, okay, it happened, and then you have to hear
Yeah.
that the transfer failed,
Mm-hmm.
and you you develop this community that now feels the letdown with you, that feels the disappointment with you, and now is journeying in the victory of the miracle that you have. um how how has creating the community changed? Like, you talked about, you it's transformed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how how then did this community that you are now leading, because I don't think you came into this thinking that you would begin to lead
Mm-mm.
community. You just
Mm-mm.
was like, I just need to put this out there. So
Mm-hmm.
now, how has this community that you created, that you shaped, and that you've molded, what was the benefit of doing that in the hardness, when you couldn't see past your tears someday,
Mm-hmm.
when you wanted to blame your husband, saying like, this is a you issue, this isn't a
Mm-hmm.
me issue. Like, I'm talking about when you were ready, saying like, if they stick me
One more time.
one more time, if I have to open these legs one more
One more
time,
time. Exactly.
one more time,
One more
did
time.
how did the sense of community that you created, because oftentimes we pour into places but we don't get reciprocation from the places that we pour. So
Correct.
in this stage, how did community work for you?
I think community work for me is because I didn't realize that my voice was building something bigger than me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that the connection was needed, right? I didn't realize that um, you know, I realized that many women like myself have been suffering in silence, but I didn't realize the impact that it had on others. I didn't realize that women were saying, I'm going through the same thing, but I didn't know how to articulate that, or I didn't know how to advocate myself like that in this area. So when it felt the time for me to share those moments, I didn't felt like I was being rushed. I didn't feel pressure. I felt like this is the truth, this is my truth, and this needs to be shared. So it didn't feel like in hindsight where I was hiding. I felt like we were growing together. I felt like we were learning together. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was just different times where I did take time to step away, and they were right there to say, we're checking on you. Hey, is everything okay? Do you need
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah.
So it was more so, and I would come to them and say, look, I need a break. I'm empty. My cup is
Mhm.
empty. And they would pour into me like no other. They would fill me up like no other. Were times I didn't even know I needed to be full. I didn't even know I was empty. It didn't hit me like, okay, Leah, you're telling your story, but who's pouring into you? I had ran out of it. It was empty. And in that moment when they realized that I was empty, it turned on like a faucet. People were
Mm.
pouring into me, telling me, keep going,
Yes.
don't give up. It was testimony after testimony. And those messages that came through was just like, it empowered me. It gave me hope. It made me believe again. And that's when I realized that, oh, this community holds power. This
Yeah.
community holds safe. This community holds vulnerability. This community brings strength. Those are all things that I had been carrying, but I ran empty. And when they filled me back up, it was just like, oh, this is for real, for real. We're at this point where we're like locked in. And these are basically strangers. Like we're bonding off of trauma. We're bonding off of we're bonding off of heartbreak. We're
Yes.
bonding off of letdowns. We're bonding off of, well, I hope this works out. Good luck, baby. That's to you. We're bonding off the possibility of what things could be, but it hadn't come to fruition for us yet. So I think that's where that
Yes.
community made the difference, because we were all believing for something, all hoping for something. But when the well had ran dry for me, that's when the overflow had came in. And that's when I knew it was true community.
Wow. That's I want to emphasize the fact that You said when you got on E, meaning when you had come to the end of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you realize what community was. I'll even
Mm-hmm.
take it further. When you came to the end of yourself, that's when you realized you had birthed something already.
Mm-hmm.
And so, everyone that's watching, um, the encouragement is you can be at the end of yourself and still be birthing something while you're waiting to be pregnant to birth
Absolutely.
something.
A
That
hundred
per-
percent.
that purpose is still coming to pass and is still being executed and manifested while you're still waiting for the thing that God promised you, while you're still waiting to hold your miracle, you're still
That's
birthing
good.
a baby.
That's good.
And so let that be encouragement, because we're talking about navigating in the middle. So in starting out in your journey, you you were trying to get pregnant, didn't get pregnant, and then you go down the path of IVF, and then you find out that your husband does not meet the criteria of being able to give you a pregnancy, and then you go through IVF and
Mm-hmm.
it's failed. How much of the narrative of coming from the doctors and the doctors' reports try to weave its way into your identity? Because infertility or any form of trauma can shape your identity, but how has your sense of self and your transformation in the way you have evolved now has shifted things while your journey is still fresh?
I think the biggest thing for me is that I began to believe I began to believe that I was infertile. I began to believe that infertility was my identity. I was going through a whole like psychological change. I began to literally believe like, okay, I'm Leah, but Leah is attached to infertility. Leah is attached to I feel like I'm half of a woman because now I only have one tube due to ectopic. I would have myself, but I would identify with a lot of things that I had dealt with through trauma. So the identity of me identifying that infertility is me, I had to literally shake that off through therapy,
Mm-hmm.
through taking breaks, through
Yeah.
building a deeper relationship with God, and realizing like, whoa, because I always would say, I want to go back to the woman who I was prior to getting a diagnosis
Yeah.
of infertility. I want to go back to the woman where life was just great, where I
Yeah.
didn't even know I was dealing with infertility. I want to go back to that woman. But that woman was no longer there. She no longer
Mm-hmm.
lived. So I had to now embrace this new woman that I was becoming and still die to the fact that infertility is not my identity. So
That's
it was
right.
more of a mindset shift,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to process those emotions and slowly chip away and constantly set affirmations and say, infertility is not my identity. Even and it was funny because even through the fear and the pain, it was the duality of still holding the triumph of still believing, still hoping.
Mm-hmm.
It was up and down. I was holding on to fear, anxiety, but on the other hand, I had hope, I had faith. But those two can in fact coexist because I've been there. I felt it. Where it's just like one day, I don't know when it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, but I'm believing that it's going to happen. But slowly chip it away, that mindset of you ain't going to never have a child. It's never going to happen. That shame, that guilt, that fear, that anxiety. You have to speak life over your womb. You have to speak things into existence daily. It's the daily like die almost to self identity of infertility for you to really see past things that you're just like, it's going to happen for me. I'm believing, but I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know it's going to come to pass. But that's a daily thing that takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on you for sure.
How long has it been from start to finish, your journey?
For 4 years, 4 years,
4 years.
4 years,
4
4 years, what feels like forever. I'll be 39 when I have my first child.
Yes. And
39.
and to everyone that is watching, um it doesn't happen overnight,
Mm-mm.
but even though when it happens, it feels like it's happening so fast. Like
Absolutely.
the duality of that is very much true. And so what we've seen on your journey is that you've held both gratitude and healing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
um what did that look like on the day to day? Because you've talked about how you held fear and anxiety, and you also held faith and hope
Mm-hmm.
um at the same time. So how does healing and gratitude hold space at the same time for you? What did that look like? I woke up this morning, I was tired. What did you say to yourself outside of the
Mm-hmm.
affirmations? Because you have to look at yourself in the mirror.
Literally.
You got that 3 o'clock hump. If you're, those things in the afternoon, in this life is still lifing. Loved ones are passing away, tragedies are
Mm-hmm.
still happening,
Mm-hmm.
hardships and challenges. So how did you hold space for both gratitude and healing?
That's a really good question. I think holding space for gratitude and healing, it was more so the support that I had from my close tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mother, my grandmother, people that was very close to me. Because even though I had this platform to share, everything wasn't shared. Everything wasn't shared. Some things were kept sacred because it was sacred moments. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they reminded me who I was oftentimes where I felt less of. So having that gratitude, because I would be like, Mom, I can't do this no more. And she's like, take a break. And I'm like, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. So they would just literally pray for me. They would intercede on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
So even having that gratitude and that healing, I think that's where the healing took place, where I had those moments where I knew I had people that were tangible to me that I can reach out to and say, this is what I need. Because y'all saying it's going to come to pass, but I don't see that in the future. And they would begin to pray for me. They would begin to, just intercede on my behalf because I was like, look, I'm done. I'm giving up. I'm washing my hands. But so I think having that strong support system to
Mm-hmm.
remind you, like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
Were you ever scared to tell the truth? Were you ever scared to say, one, that I'm scared, one, that my faith is low? Because oftentimes as believers, there is
Hmm.
a thought that if we tell the truth about being having a low moment, that means that faith is no longer in existence. We do not subscribe to that. But
Mm.
were you scared to be able to say the truth of your humanity, with a thought that it could derail or delay what it is that at baseline you were believing and hoping for?
No, I wasn't scared because I knew who I could go to.
Mm-hmm.
I knew who I can go to and cry to. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was never scared because I had that relationship with God to say,
Right.
I'm broken, I'm scared, I'm hurt. Why does this have to happen to me? Why do I have to go through this? So by me going to him with that,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that weight. But
Yeah.
but I didn't get to that point until I had to completely surrender that to him. It was still a wrestle because I wanted to be the one in control and not fully
Ooh.
surrender to him. So
Right.
it wasn't about me being scared. It was about me, okay, God. I was more so like give and take. God, I give you this. God, where's this? It was more
Right.
so like I'm wrestling back in between these feelings. But then when I was ready to bear it all, it was like, you know what, God, I'm sick of being sick and tired. I'm tired of being in control. This is you. This is your battle. I'm done fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't until I fully surrendered it to him.
What would you say to someone who's struggling with the surrender? That's a real place. Was it multiple prayers and multiple conversations of honest of saying like I'm sick of this. I'm tired.
Mhm.
Like what was that breakthrough moment where it was just like I laid it down, I didn't pick it back up again?
I think my last transfer where it was complete fail. We had went through the protocol, the medication, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done. I still believe. I still have faith, but I have to give this burden to you because me being in control, me trying to have everything figured out, it was just too much. It was
Mhm.
just too much. And I remember asking God, I said, God, instead of me asking you for a miracle, I wanted to become the miracle. I wanted to be transformed and renewed. Like I was tired of going to God, asking God for things. I wanted to know God for just who he was in my life, not for what he could do for me, what he could bring a miracle. I didn't want to keep going to God, begging God for this. I wanted to go to God to just know him for just who he is. He was a
Mhm.
healer. He
That's
was a
right.
provider. He restored my marriage. I wanted to get back to the basics of God, of who God just was at the forefront of my life. Not God, can you bring me a miracle? Not God, can you bring me a baby? Not God, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? I was begging God, but I
Wow.
got tired of begging. I wanted to
Right.
just know him for just the basics. Just
Right.
the bare minimum. God, just have your way in my life. That was good enough for me. That was enough.
Right. Because see, the basics is relational, it's not performative. There's nothing we cannot perform our way into a miracle. We cannot
Hmm.
perform our way into a
Hmm.
breakthrough.
No, ma'am. No,
It is
ma'am.
because we have identity, meaning we know who we are as sons and daughters, to get to the relational value
Yeah.
of our relationship. And
Yeah.
so to everyone that's watching, and we're talking about identity,
Hmm.
it is reminder of the core of who you are,
Hmm.
not just the makeup of becoming a mother, not just the makeup of the journey of going through infertility, that the surrenderance happened at the point of time, at the truest confrontation of yourself in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Because that's where healing are, because it's heartbreaking to go through, to be poked and prodded, to go through a myomectomy, to go through
Absolutely.
like failed IVFs, to be going through rough patches in your marriage. Like infertility literally tries to come and attack every part of your life, to think that you're not worthy, that
Mm.
you are dysfunctional,
That's
that you are
good.
disqualified, to literally
Hmm.
tear down everything that God made you and defined you as. And so I just want to encourage you, wherever you are in your journey, where you're listening to Leah's story.
Hmm.
Maybe you're not at the point of IVF. Maybe you're just at the point of surgery. Maybe you had a fibroid that overtook the fetus and you got the devastating news in the emergency room. There's all different ways and pathways to where your infertility journey is. So
Absolutely.
even if the details are not the same, we want you to be encouraged to know that the end of the story, when you come to the end of yourself, is where the miracle happens, and you can be somewhere in the middle navigating. But there is hope in the navigation.
Amen.
There is literally miracles that still happen. We believe in
Every
miracles.
day.
We believe that you can go from barrenness to fruitfulness, where however fruit looks for you. It may not look like
Hmm.
Leah's journey, it may not look like mine's. um and in this, Leah, how did you find you talk about how you found your voice along the way, but what would you say to someone who still feels unheard or unsure on how to advocate for themselves? What happens when you got to go at it with the doctor and say, let me explain something to you. I know what you
Hmm.
said, but let me give you
Hmm.
the one, two, three, the four, the five, and the six.
Yeah. I think advocacy is number one, right?
Mhm.
Because if you don't advocate for yourself or if you don't have someone there to advocate for you, they will spin you so fast. They out to get money. They don't care. It's just you're being taken as a joke or a number. just say, you know what? Take a minute, slow down. I'm not familiar with all this medical terminology. Can we go through? Can we dive a little deeper? And I will always have every appointment have additional questions. Follow up. Follow up. If they don't have a question or they don't have to answer your question, okay, I'll ask someone else. And always get a second, third, fourth opinion. You don't have no loyalty to these practices, no loyalty to these doctors. If it doesn't feel right, if you feel it in your gut or you have that discernment, go get another opinion right away. Right
Yeah.
away. Right away. Don't feel like you owe them an explanation. It's just uncalled for. And you know when you have that gut feeling, like you're like, this don't something don't. They didn't answer my question the way I thought I was going to hear it. And I'm not saying the doctors don't know everything, right? They don't know. They don't have all the answers to your question. But I think to advocate is so important, and to get second opinions is so important, and third opinions. Don't go somewhere where you feel like it's a burden or you feel like a number. You know, that's the biggest thing, where they just treat you like, oh, I'm just a number,
Yeah.
or so and so, or if it worked for so and so, it would work for me. It's all different variations of infertility and different diagnoses and different outcomes. No case is the same. But if they treat you with the same protocol that they had treated someone else, or it's the same, or you just feel like a person taking a number, then that's not the place for you. You will definitely know when this is the place for me or the right doctor for you, but you have to ask questions, because navigating in the infertility space is hard enough, right? So you got to deal with that, the doctors, your diagnosis, the medication, the finances. That's a lot. So you need to go where you're heard, where you're seen. And if it doesn't go the way you want, go somewhere else. Because I went through two clinics and was like, this first one, I'm done. I'm going to another clinic. And I transferred.
Yeah. Don't be scared to fire your doctor, y'all.
Do not, please. They don't run nothing.
Listen, don't be
I'm
scared.
telling you, don't be scared.
Don't let them tell you that a general practitioner can do the same thing that a specialist does.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Don't be scared. Do
Don't
not be scared.
don't be scared. Don't exactly what she said. Don't be scared. Um how did you find your voice along the way? Let's say for someone who may be soft spoken and more timid, because some of us are matter of fact, or we get labeled as Black women as being aggressive, or
Mhm.
all the other stigmas that's associated to being Black. Um, how did you navigate spaces where you had to do doctor's appointments by yourself and maybe you didn't have a support person? Did you record? Did you demand your time with the doctor's office? Like what was some of the precursor things that you did, or did you even have anxiety walking through the door sometimes?
I think me coming from a background of healthcare and working in the healthcare industry, I never really had the fear or anxiety, because
Hmm.
it I think just my background just working in healthcare just in general. So I would be thorough. Like I would have pen to paper. Okay, let's go through this question. Let's go through this question. And then also include my husband. That's another thing I want
Hmm.
to talk about. When you go
Yes.
to these appointments, you're just as important as your husband or your significant other. They need to know what's going on as well. Don't leave them out of, the diagnosis or out of the plans. They need to be informed. They're going through the treatment as well, if they have to. But I'm saying it should be, a decision that you guys are both dealing with this together. But just double checking the doctors. Doctors make mistakes all the time. They make mistakes all the time. But one of the things I can tell you is just having a pen to paper, doing your research, having a second opinion. And if you are a person that's timid or feel like you can't voice yourself, it's okay, because I know they have resources where you can call advocacy line, bring a friend with you. Don't let them just push you under the rug. Or another thing is, don't just assume. Don't go on with assumptions. Oh, they have it all together, or it worked for so and so, it's gonna work for me. No, not always. Not
Right.
always. Not always. So I know it's hard to sometimes to have that voice because sometimes you don't know how to navigate or say what
Mhm.
you need to say. But in the back of your mind, you're gonna say, dang, I should have said that. I
Mhm.
should have spoken up about that. But going through infertility, you will find a voice. You will have a voice. You will definitely find your voice. It may not come fast, but you will find your voice.
Absolutely, like absolutely. While my journey is not IVF, but even in
Hmm.
navigating in the middle, I found my voice, and I just wouldn't let anybody tell me anything that
Nope,
they felt like saying.
at all.
And um that's what I
Mm-mm.
encourage every person. What in navigating the middle, your husband navigated with you. What was some of the biggest lessons there that your husband did to support you? Like, what can someone do, partner or just support person, do to
Hmm.
support the person who's going through the IVF journey?
Hmm. I think one of the important things is after you have a visit, come together and discuss what was discussed at the doctor's. Because sometimes the way I interpret the doctor would say he didn't interpret it that way. So just having an open conversation to make sure we're on the same page. Support with medication as far as like administer medication. A lot of things that I thought would bring us further apart brought us closer together, to be honest. Because I was just like, is he gonna be willing to do these medications with me? Is he gonna be willing to administer this medication to me? So bringing your significant other, your partner, having them involved helps a lot. Helps a lot for sure. So sometimes you may have to a lot of times we would just have a debrief after the doctor's office and either go out to lunch or breakfast and say, "Hey, anything else you want to talk about? Or did you understand what he meant when he had mentioned this?" Because a lot of that mumbo jumbo can get scrambled up, and your mind is just like, man, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. He said the transfers next week, or they said this medication will work this time. So, in hindsight, you're like, oh, this is it. Let's go. You ready. You ready to
Right.
go. Not knowing that, okay, let's take a minute and just like really talk this through. Let's really discuss this through before we really like step forward with this.
Right. One of the things that you're talked about, and how you stay grounded in your faith, and how you
Mhm.
stay grounded regardless of what the outcome is. One of the things that you said is that you've had to take step back. So to me that says you had to practice self-care. What has self-care looked like for you in this? I think we get so caught up in the journey and the fight that we
Mhm.
forget what care looks like for ourselves and grace looks like for ourselves along the way. So what was that for you, and how did you intentionally share that with your community that you built?
Okay. So taking breaks, I would begin to find hobbies. I enrolled in line dance class. I took a cooking class. I did like paint with a twist type of class. Like I made sure that I was booked and busy outside of dealing with infertility. So just picking up different hobbies, it made me feel like it brought some type of normalcy towards my life because everything evolved around every 4 weeks, I get a period, ultrasound, blood work, labs, new medication. That was my routine. I had nothing else outside of that for months. For months. So I'm like, I gotta find out other things outside of, me just sharing my journey, me going to
Mhm.
the doctors. I need to find some hobbies. So I was just like, I gotta find something else to do. I know and even spending time with my husband, going on dates, getting back to
Mhm.
things that we were used to doing that we kind
Yeah.
of just fell out. I'm like, well, I haven't seen the movies in a while, or I haven't been out to eat in a while. And we kind of just fell off of just doing date
Mhm.
nights, having hobbies. Like that was just like unheard of. It was crickets in our house until we started
Yeah.
taking breaks. And those every time I took a break, jump back in, my faith began to grow bigger.
Yeah.
It was like a replenish. It was like I can get back on this horse and ride again. So those breaks were absolutely necessary. Because I don't know what
Right.
I would do if I didn't take a break. I would be just, it was just, that break refueled me, replenished me. It had me, my faith got larger, and I was just like, oh, I could do this again. I feel
Yeah.
healed in this area. I feel like
Mm.
I was able to process this heartbreak or this failed transfer, and let God do some inner work within me for me to move forward and not feel like I'm just jumping back on just because.
Yeah.
I had to heal from some things in order for me to go to the next step or the next process or the next transfer or the next protocol. But I couldn't
Mm.
move forward until I felt I was kind of healed from that trauma.
Yeah. So to everyone watching, don't dis don't discount the healing that you think is the failure, because
Yeah.
sometimes the failure is the next layer of vulnerability, of
Yeah,
inner
that's good.
healing that's needed to get to the next step. Sometimes we don't anticipate the step.
Mhm.
We don't
Mhm.
anticipate the tears. We don't anticipate the heartbreak and the disappointment. We just think we're going to get the point A to point B without any gravel, without any rocky, without any hills to climb. That's the
Absolutely.
assumption. And a lot of times we hear the story from the place of victory, but we don't hear the story in the middle. So,
Mm-mm.
Leah, what I ask you is, what would you tell yourself when you first started? What would you tell 4 years ago, Leah, from the place
Mm.
in the seat that you sit in now? What would you say to her?
I would say to her, no matter what, make a choice to trust God.
Mm,
No matter what, make a choice to trust God. I think that's what I would say, is to trust Him. Even in the midst of chaos, trust Him. Because back then, for me, I never made a choice to really trust God. I never made a choice to really, really, really fully trust God at all. So I would honestly say, like, I'm choosing to trust God no matter what.
mm,
Because I will put it in His hands and take it back out. Put it in His hands and take it back out. But to fully choose to trust Him, that's a big deal. That's a lot. To
yeah,
consistently trust Him in the midst of everything else going horrendous, you want me to still trust you, God, after I'm experiencing all this, and yeah, making a choice to trust Him, even in the midst of chaos. Trust Him
so
because He still delivered, even when
yeah,
I wasn't worthy. He still showed up.
that's right. So
He like,
it
can't get rid of me. I'm here.
so it so everyone in the middle of the miracle, navigating
Hmm.
infertility in real time, from
Hmm.
the beginning to the middle to the end, wherever the end is, whatever victory and triumph looks for you, keep trusting God. Stick with the process. And on
Hmm.
that, we are coming to our close time. Thank you to everyone who will watch. Leah,
Yes.
thank you so much for living out your story out loud, for creating space for everyone to follow you in real time. I encourage
Hmm.
you to um follow her on Instagram to hear and see more about her journey. We are still in
Amen.
our week of our eighth annual Infertility Empowerment Week. I want you to know that this Saturday we're doing a dig fundraiser. 30% of the proceeds will go to bearing fruits. Our conference is in June this week. That's right. You see it up there. Dig in. It's Saturday the 25th all day. Meet us there.
Awesome.
It is 1616 Chestnut Street. Um, at 12:45. So definitely dig in. We are a nonprofit organization. Perhaps our purpose matches with yours. Perhaps it aligns to your core values. If you feel led, donate to us. We are good ground. We are advocating for women. We are amplifying voices and stories of individuals who are
Mhm.
going through infertility, which is the journey for many people to maternal health, to a better quality of life. Also, want to bring to your attention that our annual conference is happening this June. This is how I came to the organization, our Be Fruit from Conference and
Awesome.
3K Warrior Walk 2026, the uplifting and reproductive health empowerment experience. It is 3 days. It is a reception, our conference, and our Warrior Walk. This week, our early bird special is still up, but it will go into our regular general pricing at the after next week. So stay tuned, join in, be a part of community. It is the community that saved me. And now here I am, as I say, a proud board member
No,
of
that's
Bearing
right.
Fruit, being able to join hands um in the advocacy and amplifying of voices and women who are dealing with infertility. To those who are watching, thank you so much. Join us tomorrow.
Thank you.
We'll be back here at 7 p.m. continuing to talk about the stories of infertility and be empowered.
Mm.
Again, Leah, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
creating
much, Monica.
community.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing your story. Thank you for your yes and your obedience for everything that you've gone through. And to everyone who is watching, catch us tomorrow at 7 p.m. We're going to be here. And to everyone, have a great evening. Good night, everyone.
Good night.